Well, I'm on my way. It's just about 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm in El Centro, and first stop, Slab City, California. Here we go. I started my day heading for Slab City, the king of dispersed camping. Next was Ocotillo Wells for a huge OHV area, before heading to Borrego Springs and their dinosaur sculptures. I then twisted my way to Julian, home of great pies, and explored the Palomar Mountains. I then experienced huge traffic jams in Temecula through Winchester, before finally hitting and resting San Jacinto State Park and camping there for the night. As I head towards Slab City, I pass through fertile farmland, reclaimed desert really, thanks to the Colorado River. All of the water of the mighty Colorado is used up by communities and agriculture. It's parceled off by various legislative agreements. Nothing actually gets to the Mexican coast. There has been efforts to make it happen, and perhaps we'll see the river flow fully someday. Along the way, I also passed the Superior Cattle Feeders lot. They have a lot of cows. This is another source of the water, and yeah, it's interesting how much you can claim from the desert when you've got enough water to fill your boots. Just before reaching Slab City, I passed through the small town of Niland. Niland is one of those things you discover in California. I mean, California is one of the richest states. If it was a country, it'd be one of the richest countries in the world. But that's not how everyone who lives in California gets to experience. There's a fair bit of poverty as well. And this was, unfortunately, a fairly run-down place. But people are happy. At first glance, this is just another power station for electricity, but in fact, this one gets its power from solar energy, which is pretty cool. Well, we're definitely getting close. This looks like an entrance gate. So what is Slab City? Well, it's not easy to say. It's the biggest dispersed camping area in the United States, or perhaps the biggest slum, or perhaps the biggest free city. It's a lot of perspective, which makes you determine how you look at this place. One thing to note is that it's huge. The main city is roughly 640 acres, but it also stretches out along the main highway. The area was once a Marine artillery base, which operated from 1942 to 1956. After that time, all of the buildings were dismantled, but the slabs remained, hence Slab City. It started getting settled by drifters, and then recreational vehicle owners started to show up here as a cheap place to stay while visiting Palm Springs. By the late 60s, this was hippie heaven. It received an extra burst in the 80s when an article was printed about the place in Trailer Life and RV magazine, and there was up to about 2,000 trailers by 1988. Most people would come here in the winter to escape the cold of their home environments. The climate here is quite nice through the winter, but very hot in the summer, and only the diehards would stay. So the population fluctuates from about 4,000 in winter to somewhere around 150 in the summer. So that's 150 full-time people, categorized as anarchists, artists, eccentrics, outcasts, retirees, and impoverished. It's an interesting collection of people who want to escape from a society that doesn't suit or fit them. What unites these people is a desire for freedom. But it's interesting. They come to a place and they set up camp, and everyone can set up where they like, but slowly you end up having areas that you now want to preserve. You've built something here. It's not merely a transient location. You've put your stake in the ground, so to speak, and you've built things. And so over time, rules do develop in these places. It becomes a community, a complex community. And like any community, there needs to be a sense of how to act, how to behave, and what to do when disputes arise. So before you know it, you have a sense of law and order, a sense of what must be. There isn't absolute freedom, even here. I spoke with a woman who had a nomadic lifestyle and had spent 8 years at Slab City. She had built structures here, including a library, and was proud of her accomplishments, including working with drug-addicted people and helping them when necessary. But she also became jaded and eventually moved on. There are people here that set up shop. They have maybe a restaurant or a hotel and they charge for it, and that's kind of accepted. But other people want to come here and live the nomadic lifestyle and request that others fund them. And she became a little jaded at that, and I can see why. There's a lot of drugs here, of course, and that's either a panacea or awful, and you get a little of both. And although some people think of this as, getting away from it all, there are some services provided by the local town. And the police will come in, not often, but they will come in. In 2016, there was actually a murder here, and the police came and caught the person before they could leave the area. But there aren't all services. There's no water or electricity, and the garbage tends to pile up quite a bit. I think it's great there's a place like Slab City. It's an outlet, a place for a social experiment, and whatever comes of it, it's that opportunity to try something different. Salvation Mountain. Just going to take a peek in here. Salvation Mountain is the most famous area of Slab City. It was built by Leonard Knight over a period of about 30 years. There's all kinds of artifacts here, like this Bible truck and another Bible truck. There's a lot of religious themed messages here about Jesus and love. It's certainly not a single sculpture. It's a collection, an iconic collection of various pieces that were probably found abandoned in the desert and reconstructed for a purpose that perhaps only Leonard could articulate. Sadly, he's passed away now, and others have taken up the mantle. There's someone here. I think he's living here currently, and maybe he's a caretaker of sorts. All I know is it was an iconic vista and well worth the trip to experience it. After leaving Slab City, I found myself back in the industrial farmlands of California. What a strange dichotomy. First you have the anarchy of Slab City, and here you have the highly industrialized farming of America. Another border patrol. Right through this section. I need to make sure I go through the border patrol and then go left into Borrego Springs. On the way to Borrego Springs, I had to first pass through Ocotillo Wells, which is a huge off-road vehicle riding area. There's so many trails, and it's well set up. There's hills, and there's sand dunes, and flat areas, so a little something for everybody. There's no fees collected for camping or day use, so that's nice as well. Open camping is permitted for up to 30 days in a calendar year. Borrego Springs is a town in the middle of the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. It's the largest state park in all of California. Borrego Springs has a population of about 3,500 people. And it's an official international dark sky community, the first and only one in California. So it's an interesting place, but not just for the things I've mentioned. Due to a person named Ricardo Brasida, this is an area of a whole bunch of metal creatures. They're rusty artwork, metal art, and they have features like eyelashes and fur of shaved iron. The sculpture is interesting. There's some galleries as well, but this artwork is spread out across the desert and really provides a unique atmosphere to the town, considering he's doing dinosaurs and ancient mammals from history. These elephantine statues seem to represent Gomphotherium, who lived about 15 million years ago, an ancient ancestor of current elephants and a form of Paleomastodon. I certainly don't know what most of these statues represent, other than an incredible amount of work, the effort this man put, and I think it really put Borrego Springs on the map. It became a tourist destination just for people to come out here and see this fantastic artwork. Much of the artwork was so big, I had trouble capturing it all with my camera.
Serpents on both sides. It's awesome. Give you the scale of the whole thing. I think this guy did an awesome job for tourism here. This is just, I mean, the amount of hours it must have taken him. I believe it's just one guy.
I think it was so worth it to go to Borrego Springs. There's something about the desert that brings out the artists and the innovation as well. On the way out of Borrego Springs, I decided to take the Yaqui Pass Road, and what a treat that was. Oh, there was a lot of gorgeous scenery, but you're up in the hills and you're twisting and turning, and the road was just beautiful for it. Sometimes it's weather that spoils the ride, but not here. I'm sure in the summer it would be blistering hot, but right now the temperature is bearable. The sky is completely blue, not a cloud in sight, and the road is dry. So it's perfect motorcycle conditions. Yaqui Pass Road is only about 15 miles, about 25 kilometers, and it connects with Highway 78. So it connects with where I wanted to go. You've got the Bill Kenyon Overlook Trail, so there's lots of hiking. There's the Tamarisk Grove Campground, where there's some tamarisk trees, which grow well here in the desert, but they're actually from the Middle East. And of course, twisty motorcycle roads, which is why I'm out here in the first place. As you can see, the roads are mostly natural sweepers, nothing too technically challenging, but just a nice, simple ride out in the sun. As the road approaches Highway 78, we encounter the Tamarisk Grove Campground. There's about 17 sites here. Many of them have some covered shelter from the sun, which is nice in these parts. I'm now on Highway 78, heading through Shelter Valley, make my way towards Banner, and then swiftly up the mountainsides with lots of twisties on the way to Julian. The roads were my own, very little traffic, and the scenery was spectacular. I enjoyed the opportunity to just focus on the road and let the road take me to my next destination. Eventually, I left the desert behind and entered the Cleveland National Forest. As the temperature changed, so did the climate, and everything greened up tremendously. The road from Banner to Julian is motorcycle heaven. There's so many twists and turns, several cutbacks, as you wind your way quickly up into the mountains from the lower desert. This area is a great slice of California, basically northeast of San Diego, and close enough to get there if you needed something from a big city. You're out still in the mountains where there's few people and nature's relatively unspoiled. Finally, I arrived at Julian. It's a bit of a tourist town out here in the mountains. You can see there's a lot of vehicles on the side of the road, and here on the left there's a group of police officers. And up ahead where I ended up parking my bike, I discovered all of their police cruisers. Julian is known for several things, but in particular, it's known for Mum's Pies. And yeah, it's a bit of a pie town, so naturally, that's where I decided to go. From Julian, I took Highway 79 northwards. It's a great road on its own right. But if you're in this area, last time I was here, I turned off onto Mesa Grande, heading towards the tribal offices. And from there, there's a dirt road, which is the Black Canyon Road. And my God, if you have a dual sport or some bike where you don't mind going on the gravel roads, that is a fantastic road along cliffside. I'll get that in a different video at some point. But yeah, a good side road if you're in this area. As I began to climb into the Palomar Mountains, I decided to veer off Highway 76. I'd been here before, and it's an excellent road, but I wanted to explore, and there's a road called East Grade Road, and I could see it was very twisty and looked quite promising. It took me to an observation point over Lake Henshaw that was quite beautiful, and as I traveled along its road, I realized this was indeed an excellent choice. Yep, worth the ride. Further up the road, there was a pullout to the left. This provided an excellent view west towards the Pacific Ocean and over the valley. It's also the site of a memorial to the firefighter Gregory Pacheco.
There's that big wall of cloud. Just starts there, goes all the way across the horizon. But it's over there, and I'm here. Look at this gorgeous sun. Not a cloud. They're all over there.
East Grade Road continued to follow the side of the mountain, providing excellent views and great twisty turns. It would have continued for some time, eventually connecting at the Palma Valley, but I decided to take South Grade Road instead. On the map, it looked extra twisty, and it would be a rapid descent down to Highway 76. And South Grade Road did not disappoint. Over 5,000 feet up, dropping rapidly over only a few miles. The road itself was clear of debris and didn't have any potholes or bumps. There was very little traffic. And look at these sweeping turns. There's lots of sharp turns as well. Take a look at my phone mount there. You can see the blue line with all the squiggles showing me where I'm going. That's this road in a nutshell. Yeah, here I am further down, and look at my phone again. Look at all those lines. This is just one amazing road. You definitely have to do this one when you're in the area. I'll also do a dedicated ride-along video on this road.
Keeping car old man off the California 395 historic route. On the highway right now. See? In Wolf Creek area of 55. Lots of nice houses there.
I found myself in heavy traffic on the I-15 north, heading towards Temecula, so I veered off. If you're going to be stuck in traffic, it's nicer to have something interesting to look at. California traffic is no joke. I was stuck in it this far removed from Greater Los Angeles for the better part of an hour, but I finally found myself free to travel again and heading into the Mount San Jacinto State Park. Once again, the roads did not disappoint. I was on Highway 74, which became 243. It seems the trick to enjoyable motorcycle riding near San Diego and LA is to head for the mountains and avoid everything else. It felt like an endless stream of good roads today, and it really was. But it was getting late, and it was time to start thinking, where would I camp for the night? I soon arrived at Idlewild, which is a fairly large community I think more of a seasonal community where people would come and hike. But they do have a regional park campground, which I found and stayed at for the night.
There's a few people here, including a few people with tents. And the temperature right now is quite pleasant. So it's going to cool off in the night, but I don't think it's going to be frozen. So set up my tent, and yeah, I think I got a good spot for the night.
Hey, I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next ride.